You know, he's been called a genius, a visionary, and a tyrant. Today, we're going to try and unpack the really complex legacy of one of technology's most iconic figures, Steve Jobs.
I mean, people saw him as a true hero, right? The wonder kid of Silicon Valley who co-founded Apple in his parents' garage and, somehow, built it into the most valuable company in the entire world.
And his vision? Wow. It was so powerful that he completely transformed entire industries. We're talking personal computers, animated movies with Pixar, the way we all listen to music, and yeah, that phone that's probably in your pocket right now. His work just fundamentally changed how we live.
But, for all that praise, there was always this darker story running alongside it. People talked about his genius, sure, but they also talked about him being impatient, cruel, even tyrannical. So what was the real story?
So to really get a handle on this, we're going to break down the two completely different views on his leadership. We'll explore his most famous or infamous technique, and then we'll try to piece together the man behind the myth.
Okay, so to understand this whole paradox, let's first get clear on the two very different labels that people have put on him.
On one side, you've got the transformational leader. Now, this is the kind of leader who doesn't just manage people. They inspire them. They lift up their whole team and give them a vision so powerful that it turns followers into leaders themselves.
And then you have the toxic leader. This is the leader whose behavior is just destructive. They hurt the people who work for them and create this culture of fear and anxiety. So the real question is, could Steve Jobs have actually been both? All right, let's start by looking at the case for Jobs as this world-changing, inspirational leader. What exactly made him so incredibly effective?
Picture this. It's 1997. Steve Jobs returns to Apple, and the company is an absolute mess. It's just churning out this random collection of computers and printers with zero clear direction. It was chaos.
And what he did next? Well, it was pure genius. He walked up to a whiteboard and drew this dead simple 2x2 grid. He told his team, our job is to make just 4 great products, one for each of these boxes. That single act of intense focus, of cutting out all the noise, literally saved Apple from going bankrupt.
Jobs lived by this idea that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. But for him, this wasn't just about making things look clean. No, it was about diving into the incredible complexity underneath and wrestling it into something that was elegant and just easy to use.
The iPod is the perfect example of this. The team was struggling with a really complicated interface. So Jobs just laid down one simple, non-negotiable rule. You have to be able to get to anything, any song, any playlist in just 3 clicks. That relentless push for simplicity created an iconic design that anyone, and I mean anyone, could figure out.
But for every one of those amazing stories of vision, there's another one, a much darker one. So now we've got to look at the other side of the coin. The leader that so many people called a tyrant.
Yeah, critics and a lot of people who worked for him, they paint a totally different picture. It's a portrait of a leader who basically ruled by fear. The stories are filled with his obsessive need for control, his screaming fits of rage, and his habit of publicly tearing down employees whose work wasn't good enough for him.
As Dr. Ronald Riggio puts it, this behavior could be absolutely brutal. And for a lot of people, this wasn't a model for great leadership at all. It was a cautionary tale. It sent this really troubling message that it's okay to treat people badly as long as you get amazing results. Now, if there is one single idea that perfectly captures this bizarre mix of inspiration and intimidation, it's his legendary reality distortion field.
Okay, so what was this? Well, the RDF, as they called it, was Jobs' almost magical ability to convince anybody of pretty much anything. He'd use this crazy mix of charm, charisma, and just pure stubbornness to make people truly believe that an impossible task was, in fact, totally possible. And you can see it in action his whole career. He got Steve Wozniak to do a project that should have taken months in just 4 days. He got an engineer to make the Mac boot up faster by convincing him that they were literally saving lives. And he stared down the CEO of Corning and basically willed them into mass-producing a brand new type of glass for the first iPhone in 6 months. And every single time, they did the impossible.
So, how in the world do we make sense of these two completely opposite portraits? The visionary genius on one side and the workplace tyrant on the other. Were they two separate things, or just two sides of the same coin?
Well, his biographer, Walter Isaacson, he argued that the two sides weren't just connected, they were the same thing. The intense passion that drove him to create perfect products, that's what fueled his rage when things weren't right. The focus that saved Apple, that's what made him so impatient. You couldn't have one without the other.
And what did Jobs himself have to say? He made zero apologies. When people asked him about being so harsh, his answer was simple. Look at the results. He believed the brilliant people he worked with stuck around because they were doing something extraordinary, and that the amazing end result justified the often painful journey to get there.
So in the end, we're left with this legacy of undeniable, world-changing impact, but it's also deeply and often uncomfortably complex.
You know, maybe the best clue into how he thought comes from the advice he gave to a graduating class at Stanford. The words weren't his, he took them from the back of an old counterculture magazine that had inspired him as a young man.
Stay hungry, stay foolish. That was his mantra. That drive to always be an outsider, a rebel, to never be satisfied. That's what let him believe he could change the world. And, well, he did. But it leaves us with one last big question. For that kind of world-changing genius, what's the cost?